right, ladies and gentlemen, now coming up to the stage, facilitated by Baba Hodari Davis. Put your hands together for the Black She Rose, Black Gold. Oh, and Mama Davis. Okay. All right, while they get ready, I'm gonna bring up Oscar's daughter. Put your hands together for Tatiana, please.
She's a little nervous, so Tatiana, come back.
It's gonna be okay. It's all right.
I remember.
Family, it's all good. It's family. It's good.
I remember about 9 years ago. It was in August, and it was like 1:30 in the morning, and I was in Hayward, California, and it was I was a worried father, and I was sitting in 7-Eleven, and I'm looking for my sons because they were all together. And this young man pulls up in his car, and he has these 2 flags on his car. And we were talking, and I said, Oscar, do you know where my sons are? And he's like, nah, I don't know where your sons are. And but he knew where they were. They just left the party. But then me and Oscar ended up talking for about an hour, and Oscar was telling me he just had his daughter, how proud he was of her, and that he was going to be the best father he could, and he was so happy. We stayed at 7-Eleven for about an hour, and we just talked and talked. And one thing, like, Oscar asked me, he goes, Big Jack, why are you always, like, showing up at parties or high school football games looking for your sons? And I told him I didn't want nothing to happen to him. And I'll never forget this. He said, man, them is my cousins. I'll never let nothing happen to him. None of us would let nothing happen to, that's the type of young man he was. And so here he is with his beautiful daughter. I remember she was a baby, and now I'm looking up to her. She's almost taller than me. But he was a good dude. And like last night, it was so hard to sleep. It was so hard to rest. Just stayed home, and because I'll never forget what happened up there on that platform. And the young men earlier, they were standing over there, and they started teary-eyed. They got teary-eyed, and so they went up to the gravesite. They were at the gravesite yesterday. They were at the gravesite today. And so I just want to speak about Oscar. But Oscar had 2 good friends too, John 2 Caldwell and Jordan. And I remember when Jordan was murdered, Oscar just came home, and I was standing, and Oscar came behind me and tapped me, and I couldn't believe it was him, so we talked. But for 9 days straight, we stayed with Jordan's father after his son was murdered. And Oscar was there every day with Jordan's father to make sure he was okay. And it's just hard to even think about this young man's not with us over something so senseless. But one thing his legacy did leave, his legacy left us a beautiful grandmother, Wanda, a great uncle that he loved, and his family and his grandmother, and everyone here that he touched. But I remember I took Tatiana to a play to go see Chasing Mesley, and everybody was talking, everyone was talking about Oscar Grant, and Tatiana looked at me and she said, wow, I'm the daughter of Oscar Grant. Right. And that was real touching. So she has a little poem I'm gonna ask her to read, but she wanted me to read, but I think it would be more heartfelt if it came from her. It says, hi, my name is Tatiana Grant. I am thankful for you guys to come out and support my father. If I knew it would be the last time I could see him and talk with my father, I would not let him leave. Growing up with a mother and not my father, I was young, and I saw all the little girls with their father, And it hurt me until a father figure came into my life. And she talks about the young men who were on the platform and her father, Chris, who's been stepping up because Oscar was his best friend, and he's stepping up and he's taking Tatiana like she's his own daughter. And somewhere, somehow, Oscar meant a lot to me. So I want to thank you all, and I love you, and thank you for all your support from Tatiana Grant.
All right. That's good enough.
So thank everybody. It's been 7 years strong, and we're still here, and we're still strong. And the legacy of Oscar Grant, through his Oscar, through his uncle, through his grandmother, through the community, through everybody, especially his grandmother, we keep his legacy alive, and we will never let his legacy go away. Thank you so much. You are well appreciated for supporting and continue to come and make Oscar Grant's legacy stay alive. You don't know how much it's appreciated. You just don't know how much this is appreciated.
Thank you.
And one thing my son always told me, he said no matter where Oscar went, he always wanted to shine. And I just had to say that. I was thinking about this. One time, I called my son. I said, "Where you at?" He said, "Man, Oscar came to the house. He had 2 tickets to the Warriors game." And what he did, Oscar had, they went to the game and wanted his Mercedes. But he said after the game, they went around because Oscar wanted to shine. He wanted to be seen. And they could all be in the car. They could be talking, playing loud music and everything. But as soon as his mother called, turn the music down. Don't say nothing. And then here they are doing their thing. But he would say, "Man, I swear, don't no one say nothing." But then he would answer the phone. He said, "Hey, Mom," all polite, all good. You know, he loved his mother, you know, and I was his heart and I was her heart. So one more story. And then Rose, where's Rose? Rose, she's Sophia's sister. And when Oscar first died, I used to go over her house and she would tell me stories about Oscar. And she would say Oscar would always come over and play with her children, the cousins. And she said Oscar would lay on the couch and fall asleep, but before he fall asleep, he would say, "You think you could make me some chicken tacos?" Because he loved chicken tacos, you know. But like again, I could go on and on, but thank you so much for keeping Oscar Grant's legacy alive, and thank you for the love that you show the family and the friends of Oscar Grant. It means the world. Thank you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد عجل فرجهم. How you guys doing today? My man Hadari, I went to school with him, so I know he gonna bring it strong. So I know I'm not gonna be able to bring it the way he brought it. We both went to Cal together and kept the activism there, so it's so good to see him, my brother Amir, and all everybody else out here who, you know, keeping it real, keeping the legacy alive. But the brother asked me to come talk about, as Muslims, we have a concept in Islam, it's called Ashura, or remembering. And the Prophet Muhammad's grandson, Imam Hussein, was a revolutionary a lot of people don't know about. And when he rose up, him and his family, 70 people, they were martyred and all killed, right? And as they rose up against 30,000 people who had surrounded them, and they gave their lives, every day on the 10th of Ashura, on that day, we remember his trials, his tribulations, his struggle, and his sacrifice. And the reason we do that is because it's not just about remembering him dying, it's remembering why he died, how he died, and pulling it all together to continue us to go. Now, the reason I say that, if you go on the internet and look up Ashura and look up at what happens in Karbala at his shrine, the place where he was killed, you will see that millions of people go there every year non-stop to remember his martyrdom and his struggle in order to keep it alive. Now, I say this because as we are here, we must make a transition to America. and look at the history of what people fear when it comes to remembering those who are dead, killed innocently, those who rise up. So you look at, you guys know Denmark Vesey? Denmark Vesey was a revolutionary in slavery time, right? He rose up and a brother snitched on him. We got some snitches out there, right? But a brother snitched on Denmark. Denmark gets caught. Denmark gets martyred. Denmark is killed. But listen to what the U.S. government did when they did this to Denmark Vesey. They buried his body where nobody would know where Denmark was and told all the blacks, if you wear black or mourn and remember Denmark, you will be arrested. Think about this. Don't mourn him, don't remember him, because when you remember Denmark, it would continue his legacy and continue in movement. When we look at Patrice Lumumba, they did that to him. They chopped his body up in little pieces and put it and burned it because they didn't want the Congolese to remember him. They did the same thing to Che Guevara. Think about it, Che Guevara's body didn't get back to Cuba till how long? And so when we look at history, we realize that remembering somebody, remembering their innocence, remembering death, and especially the place where they gave their life, even if it's a small amount of people, it will continue to grow. And so I say this because I had the honor of being able to raise Malcolm Shabazz, Malcolm X's grandson, in my home. And I had the honor of being able to bury him here in Oakland, California. And the one thing young Malcolm did, and I say this in his behalf because he's not here right now, after he was murdered, he always got a chance, whether on television in Iran, I can show you videos, he always mentioned Brother Oscar Grant and what happened to him. He never not took the opportunity on an international platform to continue to tell people about the legacy of all those who've been victims of police terrorism. And the words Oscar Grant came out of his mouth, and he remembered Oscar Grant. But why would he remember Oscar Grant? Because we remember his grandfather, Haj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X. And we keep Malcolm's legacy alive. We ain't dead yet, are we? No. So we continue to go. And so I say to the family, as we're here in these numbers, let us remember what happened on this legacy here on this day. Let us continue to remember it, but let us use this that we can continue to push people forward and stand up against police brutality. Because as you look at it, from Oscar Grant all the way to what's happened now, he is a spark to remember Ferguson. He is a spark for Eric Grant. He is a spark for all the other people being around. And we in Oakland, California, got to let the world know that this is the imperial homeland for African American and cross-cultural movement, and we will not let us die. We will continue the movement, and by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let us have unity and come together and fight for justice and continue to remember those who gave their lives, and remember those who gave their lives that we tend to forget. I say that because you got people like little Bobby Hutton. Some of these kids don't know about Bobby Hutton. Bobby gave his life. Comrade George gave his life. There's a lot of people in our history we can't let these young kids forget about. They have to have pictures and icons. You got pictures of Oscar Grant. Let's continue to bring up the young people and the young movement who continue to struggle, and by the grace of God, we will continue to struggle till we are free. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'm kind of at a loss for words, which is pretty unusual. I'm honored on New Year's Day to have been asked to curate some time for some young people to talk about the future of the movement and to represent that. I'm honored to have my mother and my father here with me. My mother, who is the director of the youth group Young Gifted and Black, and my father, who's my director. He's the director of Hidari Davis. I'm also honored to have other founders of Young Gifted and Black here. Young Gifted and Black originated in Ithaca, New York. Believe it or not, when I was 11 years old, I became a member of that organization. And when I left for college, that organization kind of faded away. And then we were able to bring it back to life here in Oakland. Mostly in response to the lack of consciousness, mostly in response to the lack of activism, mostly in response to the lack of engagement. I feel like it's my responsibility. A parent in the audience thanked me for bringing their child and giving them the opportunity to be on the mic, and I graciously and humbly accept that, but they're actually doing more for me than I am doing for them. And the goal is for them to do more for us now, here and now. Oftentimes we hear children are the future. And I tell the kids of Young Gifted and Black, their job is to be heroes and sheroes today.
And that's what we need. We need to be inspired to step up today, to take action today. The last thing I want to say is that about a month and a half ago, I was a guest in Iran, actually there for a human rights conference on the assassination of our people, the murder of our people, the brutality of our people, which is a surreal experience, and I could talk about that for 3 hours. But on the last day, I'm on this television program with my wife, and when we walk into the set, we look on the back wall of this television set, and there's Oscar Grant's face. There's Oscar Grant's face, along with other victims of police brutality in our country. And all over the Middle East, they're watching this television program about what's happening to us. And that's just to say that our struggles are really local and global. That we exist on a local platform, on a national platform, and on an international platform. It's important that we recognize that we remember that it's not just about who's standing right here in this space, but who's on the other side of this computer right here. And all those other people, those other news media who aren't present, who watch us through that thing right there. We have to be more media savvy and more mindful, because our messages extend beyond the city of Oakland. Y'all feel me? Yeah. Oscar Grant's life is more than just Fruitvale Station. Oscar Grant is an international symbol, not just a local symbol, but only when we hold him up to be that. Only when we represent that. Y'all feel me? I come from a strong African-American tradition of public speaking, so when I ask a question, I usually expect an answer. It's like those MCs I know. You know what I'm saying? Do y'all hear what I'm saying? My greatest honor in this moment is that I get to introduce my son to get on the mic. Former Oakland Youth Poet Laureate, who's been away in school and always been thinking about what's happening here. Always mindful of his Oakland identity. And so I'm gonna totally give up to Mike, to these artists who are gonna come behind me. We have a dynamic group, Antique Naked Soul, who created this incredible video tribute to Oscar Grant that you can find online. They recorded it right upstairs, right on that platform.